this time I am, and I'm probably at the top of the list because you walk into the defensive meeting room and the players, the engagement, the connection that they have, I feel us leveling up in a lot of ways. So that's been fun for me to get started with. So glad to open up with you guys and get rocking.
Can you talk about the shirt and what it means to wear those shirts today?
Yeah, isn't this awesome? And every time we get the chance to support somebody and have their back, I think that's a really powerful moment. It's powerful in a locker room, and it's powerful in a community, and it's our way of showing that support for men and women and children and families that have had to go things that no one ever wants to go through. And so for us as a team, just to know, hey man, we got your back, it's one of the very best things that you can say to somebody in a tough moment. Just sometimes words aren't right, but just knowing you're there and have support is an important thing.
With being able to add Gilmore and just where some of your younger players are in their development, is this as good of a mesh as you've had defensively in a while with staggering the young players on the rise, some veteran influence, and just guys at different phases?
And I think if I was a young player, we're about to have some issues, that's okay. If I was a young player, let's call him Mozzie or a guy like Eric Scott, I would almost pay anything to have Jonathan Hankins mentor me. If I was Eric Scott, I would almost pay anything to have Steph Gilmore be in the meeting room, talk about it, a technique, something different. And so for the players who are here to take on that responsibility, knowing that these guys are going to help us play and let's help them get them to our standard fast, I think it speaks volumes of the locker room and the culture that Mike's created here, because think of yourself as that young player, knowing that you just almost, if you had that kind of support behind you with somebody helping you get there, you'd literally pay anything for it because they've walked the walk at the highest level, and they're doing a great job starting us off on that.
How did you know that Stefan was going to be like that type of player, or do you not really know?
You don't really know because every circumstances. Let's have a fight. Let's just fight it out. Let's see what happens. Yeah. The question was, did I know that about Steph? When we did sign him, I bet I got 10 or 12 calls or texts to say, DQ, this is your kind of guy. You're going to love this guy. And that told me a lot about and then in the first interaction, just knowing how hard he works at it, and then seeing the connection with Trey to start, and then with some others, that was a big deal for me to see that and to say, not only do I have all this knowledge, I'm willing to share that wisdom. And that's a really important thing for coaches to do, but also for veteran ball players to do if they have that ability to share it.
Did you do the boxing stuff with Mike?
We have done it, only once with him, but yeah, for a while we've done that, and we enjoy it as the workout. Luckily, when you use the mitts, they're not fighting back as much, so we feel like we're doing pretty good. But at the end of it, the conditioning, the hand, the feet, it's a big deal for an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, because you can throw 7-on-7, you can get together for routes on air and get your timing down, but for the big guys, there's nothing that can simulate that. But what can simulate that is the movements and the quickness, and being on offense, being on defense as a fighter, that helps. And so we have a number of guys that have done that this offseason, both offensive line and defensive line.
What did he gain from being in Austin, and what is the added bulk? Have you seen the added bulk, and how will that benefit him?
Well, I'd say the added bulk is maybe not as big as we think, but what does happen usually when somebody goes to get specific on a training thing, going away, finding somebody that you're going to train with, there's certain parts of your development that you want. I want a better get off. There's something physical that you're working on, and so Micah, and specifically, not only did he do that from the physical standpoint, but he also wanted to talk to guys, like Big Whit, Andrew Whitworth, or DeMarcus Ware came here a few weeks ago and shared the day with us. It was an awesome day, man. It was like the example we were just speaking of sharing wisdom. I learned from DeMarcus that day, and I was the one, there taking notes. So all those little interactions that happen between ball players where they're ready to share it back to the younger group, that's their responsibility. I said to Micah, that's your job in 10 years to pass that along to somebody else. And that's kind of the cool part of the brotherhood of the NFL. And when guys want help and assistance, they usually come through for one another, whether they played for that team or not. And so for guys around here like a Darren Woodson or DeMarcus or Charles, or one who want to lend that hand and that help, that's a really cool resource for us.
Mike had talked about being excited about moving around this season. Said he'll probably play like 8 different positions. Can you talk
I
about
thought we were
that?
only at one position. Yeah. No, so
Or is it 8
those
now?
all go to Mike. So I want to make sure we're clear on that. My job is to help us find matchups, and Micah and others to put guys in spots where we can really allow to let them rip and kick ass. And that's been my goal all along. And so we've got a lot of unique players, and how we feature Donovan and JK and Micah and Dorrance Armstrong and others, that we like to move them around and put them into different spots. The more that you do that, when it comes time to moving people around, it's not so complicated for us, where it can cause some, some disruption for the offense. And that's a lot of what it is. But I love this part of this time of year where we're learning the rookies so much, to find out all the unique things that they have as well. And we'll have some more players, all right, that are moving into different spots based on training camp and how that evolution goes. So we're not going to ask somebody to do something they've never done or haven't been ready for, but this is a good time to explore that.
Mike
You-
said,
you-
Mike
you-
said the next step for Micah is opening up more opportunities for other people. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, and I
He's
think
less focused on sacks.
Yeah, Mike knows it, and talk about our big Mike. So when you put people into different spots, sometimes some attention may go to one player, and now you can win somewhere else. You may show that you're blitzing, but you're really in coverage. You may show that I'm rushing, but I'm really dropping out. And how do I maneuver those players around into different spots? That's what training and off-season and in-season are for, and game plans. And it's what keeps me up late at night, but it's also what I love to do. So it's a fun project when we can find guys that have multiple spots.
What about Eric Scott has jumped out at you? We saw him get some reps with the first team, and last week when the guys were out, which is a big step for a rookie.
Yeah.
Coming in, 6th-round pick. What has he
Yeah,
done?
what we are generally looking for with a player coming in, when you're in line and you're kind of counting reps, okay, I think I can go here, I think maybe. When you see a guy wanting the moment to go compete and knowing that, like, I'm balling my fists up and say, I ain't leaving here. That's what I'm looking for specifically for the rookies, to have that kind of attitude to say, yeah, I'm here and I ain't going nowhere. And that kind of mindset and attitude is really what it takes for a young player to assert themselves into these moments, because that responsibility is real, to say, hey man, can we count on you when it's there? And them learning to do that early on, that's a big deal, knowing that, like, the amount of work that goes into it, say, I'm down for this challenge. You can count on me to get it done. And so I've seen that from Eric so far. All of the young guys are doing well, ups and downs, making some mistakes. But what we also have seen is when the light clicks on and you're able to go. I had 2 giant water bottles the other day, and they were both full. I took the caps off and I just poured one right over the other. I said, I recognize this is your brain some days right now, while we're putting in all this defense and different things to go. But you just keep fighting through it and you keep making it there. But Eric's a good example of that. And Overshone's another one that has been into that space to say, I'm down for this. I want to be a part of it, and I want to have a role here, and I'm ready to prove that to you. So we got a lot of work to do between now and training camp, but that's a good 5-week window to get more training, learn the playbook better, and I'm hopeful by the training they've put in over the last month with us will carry them over into training camp, where they can really put their best foot forward to show what they got.
Dan, can you tell us Mike's excited to call plays again, and then when you went back to calling again after not doing it for years, what was that adjustment like to get used to it again?
Yeah, it's really cool to see Mike into that role, and it looks, from my opinion, that he's having a blast. And sometimes as a head coach, when you're not the play caller, man, you're yearning for it to be into that space to go. And so I've seen that with him, the energy that he has for it, and it just looks like he's having a blast. So he sets the whole menu and the table for us, and we've thrown a good off season. But him specifically, I felt some happiness and some joy for him going out there, and you can see his competitive juices going. So we'll have some good battles.
Definitely, you're excited to
yes,
compete against him in training
100%,
camp.
no question about it. And he is as well. So that's kind of what makes coaching fun. It's not just the player to player. Oftentimes it's coaches to coaches, and I've coached against Mike for a long time. He's one of the very best. So hopefully we have a lot of fun out in California. We'll see you guys all there. All right. Aloha.